Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Today, I'm in front of my Biardo. I'm going to do a stringing hacks for you today. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so a lot of you have been requesting me to do a simple stringing video that teaches you how to make a string job more consistent and easy. There is no real such thing. There is no real thing as an easy string job because it's manual labor. But I can make it easier for you and more consistent for your strings and racket. And that's what I'm going to do for you today. So I got my racket here that I'm going to string today. This is the Banana Arrow. You guys know I like bananas, and I don't know about the arrow, but I like bananas at least. As I always tell you, you don't have to do this, but just to keep it consistent. The symbol of the Babolat, right? Facing up, not facing down. But you do what you want, but I'm just telling you just to make it more consistent. Now, this is the first hack, guys. This is not a hack here, but this is your first hack. When you mount it, you may not have 6 points, but you definitely have 2 points for sure. So 1 point there, other point here. So I called out the 12 o'clock and this is the 6 o'clock. Make sure these are tight. Make sure these are tight, right? I have 6, so I'm going to make sure they're all tight. I mean, I'm not saying choke the chicken, but make sure it's tight. You can't, it's hard for you to turn at the end, just enough. Don't force it, but just make sure it's tight and that it doesn't move, okay? That's the first hack, because don't be lazy with this process, because the frame will be moving if you don't tighten it enough, and it'll be bending and can eventually crack if you do not do this step correctly, okay? So make sure it's tight, okay? I can't emphasize this enough. Make sure it's tight, okay? Whether it's 2 points or 6. That's hack number 1. Number 2. Okay. People ask me how to measure strings off of a reel. So a standard set of string is 40 feet, okay? If you're going to do a 2-piece, cut it in half. I repeat, cut it in half. 20 feet, 20 feet, okay? So, but since I'm working with a reel here, this is how I do it. I know people do state like this and measure lengths of the racket, or this deal, 3.5 of this, right? I feel like that's wasting string. I mean, my foolproof way of measuring, let's say the mains here, is I know that this is a 16 by 19. 16 mains by 19 crosses. I'm going to measure 16. So 8 times 2, 16. Simple math, okay? But how am I going to do that? So I can see number 1 main is here, number 2 main is there. So I go 1, okay? So I take it from tip frame to tip frame. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay? I do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So as long as you go from tip of the frame on the outside to tip of the frame on the outside, this will fit all the time without wasting strings, okay? So since I just did that, I'm going to cut it. All right, next tip. We got 6 holes on the bottom here. They're going up this way, okay? So it needs to go up this way. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Okay, try not to crimp this or jack this up. Make it smooth like that, okay? Now we go 50-50. I take the two tips, right? And I hold it and I basically go like that. So I'm 50-50, okay? Then you start in on your mains. Next tip. Before I pull my first main, this is my insurance policy, also known as a starting clamp. Starting clamp, okay? So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna clamp in a little closer here. And then I'm gonna use the starting clamp and I'm gonna put it right up against that other clamp. This is my insurance policy. If I was stringing gut or something like that, it would shred that gut if I pulled this and this wasn't tight enough. So, insurance. Now, the next thing is, make sure you level off this string. I see so many people out there, like they leave it down like this, and it's gonna be pulling it off the chimes. So we want it leveled, so we get a nice consistent string job, okay? So level it off, okay? Hold this with the left hand or the right, hold this with the left hand, okay? And run the first cross through, like that, okay? We're stable. We clamp as close to the grommet as possible. Boom. There's your main, your first main. All right, as you can see, I just finished the mains and I still have enough to tie off, right? So I didn't waste too much string. I am a little short of getting to my machine, but if you have a crank or something like that, this is perfect. So I'm gonna add my extender in here and finish up the mains. Okay, there you go, okay? Now, finding the hole to tie off in. So this is gonna be interesting. Back in the day, some of the market manufacturers didn't give you an option to like go into this hole here. You had to go farther and do this, right? But that would be the bad choice because now you're blocking off these two holes for your crosses, okay? So we want to go here to this closer one at this point because we only want to block off one and make that one a little easier and finish off there, okay? So don't make it hard for yourself. I see everybody making it hard for themselves. So go here, block this one off only, right? And don't block that one off with two strings, okay? So I'm gonna tie off right here. Okay, so this is how I do a double hitch. You guys can do a pro knot if you want. This is just what I am familiar with and what I'm used to. I use my starting clamp, right? And I let this hold the string while I put my fingers through and start pulling, okay? Until I'm tight. And then I do it again. So look, the string came out on the right. I'm going to the left of this string, right? I'm gonna go under this string now. There's a loop here. I'm gonna go through that loop, okay? That's my second knot. It looks the same as the first, okay? And I'm gonna pull it again. And I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Again, we're gonna go to that first one because we don't wanna make it hard for ourselves. So I came out on the left of that string. Now I'm gonna go over it to the right. I got a loop here now. I'm gonna go through the loop, underneath and through, okay? Got it? So I'm gonna look at this here, right, on the side and make sure that slack is gone. So I pull it towards me, up, towards it, towards you, back towards me, okay? And then I'm gonna do it again, okay? Around the string, under and through, okay? So again, I'm gonna use my starting clamp here to get more leverage on it. And I'm gonna pull it towards me, up and through. The second knot is just for emergency or as an anchor, I say. Usually we don't get there, meaning the first knot usually doesn't slip if you did it right. Okay, so trimming. I've seen so many people like are scared and they trim it here or here where it's really long. To make it look pretty, just maybe leave about 1/4 of an inch, just like that. Same here on the other side, 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I know that everybody's worried that this is going to slip, right? But it 99% of the time, if you did it right, it won't slip. Okay, so we're going to start on a cross now. I know there's 19 crosses, but just in case you can't count, we can just go down the row here. Like, this is what I'm talking about. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. 19. Cut there. Okay? Now, this hack will save you a little bit of time. Okay? What I know people that want to throw it into here and knot it first and then run the rest of this through this way. I like to run the first cross through, right? I want to run the first cross through just so I can get one out of the way when I get to the other side, right? I'm done with one already before I knotted it, and then I'm going to knot it here. So I'm done now. I'm done with one whole cross before knotting it and then running the whole thing through. Because I'm holding the tip of this already, I'm saving a little bit of time. Okay? Now, this is the one knot that gets confusing because a lot of beginners don't understand this knot. Now, I'm going to do a starting knot on this. I know a bunch of you guys don't like doing this, but this is what I do for most people. So I'm in the starting knot hole there, that grommet there. So it's just like a finishing knot. I finished off on my right. I'm going to go over this main, under this main, and I have a loop here through this main. Now I'm going to slap this and come around like that and do it again. All right, I'm going to show you that again. So I'm through, but I'm going to slap this and come around again. So I'll show you again. I came through that starting knot grommet on my right. So I'm going to go over this main, the same main that I came out of. I'm going to go under that main, the same main, go through and up. And now I have a loop here again. And I'm going to just come through that loop. And then I'm going to go, I usually say I slap this string right here that comes out of the grommet, which is the same string. And then I come around it again. Okay? Do you get it? So I'm coming around that hole one more time. So it's like a double. They call this starting knot, but just slow-mo that video and you'll understand a little more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold this because this is all going to run through the grommet while I'm pulling tension. Okay? So there. Okay? So now it is knotted. Now, if for any reason you are stringing like a 19 gauge, 18 gauge, and this doesn't get big enough to stay, you do one more knot around like that after, okay? So you come around again and you tie one more knot around like so, okay? And you hold this while you pull the tension through. So make sure you hold this because sometimes it'll just run all the way through and you're gonna have to start over again. So you have to hold this. All right, guys, so I'm working on a cross now. I always skip ahead, so there's no tension on that one, okay? So I skip ahead, because if I were to pull tension right now, I would be going against the grain on that next cross. So I like to basically go one ahead, and I'll show you. because it's actually a lot easier for me to do this cross. Okay. And I mean, what I'm doing here is basically, it's great for if you have gut or some kind of a sensitive string. I don't think it's that necessary for polys, unless it's a rough or something that's cutting into a synthetic or something on the mains. But again, I'm skipping one ahead. I'm going to pull tension on one back. So I'm pulling tension there, straightening it out, and moving on. Okay? But that just makes it a lot easier for you to string by skipping ahead. Now, if you've ever, so cut a tip on here too as the next hack. Make sure it's easy to go into the hole. Okay? Now, what happens if you have this? Like, let's say something happened to the string and it gets all mangled like this, or you ran into the thing, or you used the plier and you know, it looks like that, okay? You don't want to run this all the way through because it's going to just waste more time. Because look, it's actually fighting me now and doesn't want to go through. So what you want to do when you see that is cut all that off. If you can afford to cut all that off, then cut all that off. So go about there where it ends and cut all that off, because this is just going to waste more time. It is not going to be easy for you to string. You're going to be hating life for the rest of these crosses. So I'm almost done with the racket. Now, as you can see, it's a little hard to see actually. I went over this main string. Therefore, I'm going to go over this main string so that it looks pretty. Okay, so it stays level with each other. I'm going to show you how that looks after I finish off this cross here. I mean, you can choose to do this or not, but this is just kind of how I was taught. Not cooperating. Cut that tip. That's why that tip is so important, guys. Make sure you get a nice sharp tip so that you can poke through. Okay, you see how that goes over and that goes over. I'm going to pull tension on this one. And then I'm going to see, look when it closes in, how boom, right? It's flushed. It looks pretty. One's not coming out of the top and then going into the bottom. Okay, so now the last thing, I'm going to hit the knot feature. If you don't have a knot feature on your machine, just jack it up 10%. So this time I'm just going to go 5 pounds because it's at 50 to 55. Just pull the last one. And we're done. Now the final thing is the knots. So check this out though. Check this out on this racket. So I can't tie here because it's going to stick out. The string's going to stick out there. So it wants me to tie off somewhere over here. Okay, so if it goes over like that and string sticks out, they don't want you to go over here. So we look for a big hole that this string will fit, and it's probably going to be this one right here. Let me see if I can get some help from my plier here. Yep, and it goes right through. Okay, so the manufacturers are going to dictate what hole you're going to be using. And the manufacturer, which is Babolat, for this banana, wants you to go right there. Okay? Now the finishing knot, again, we came out on the left. We're going right. My right, your left. And then through. Okay? So double hitch again. First hitch. Towards up and me. Away, back towards you. Back towards me. And then I'm going to do it again. All right? Same way. Okay? My left, your right. Go over, my right, your left. Through, under, and through the loop. Just like that. Okay? Now, take my thing. Towards me, away, towards me. Make sure, okay? Now, hold this when you loosen this so you don't lose much. Okay, ready? Unclamp, unclamp. Bam. Okay. Give me about 1/4 of an inch. Give me about 1/4 of an inch. Now, banana done. Does that look pretty straight to you? Right? I straighten as I go along. You can do the same, and you won't lose so much tension too. So I straighten as I go. All right? So those are my hacks for stringing a tennis racket. Thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.